Hello. 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 Hello, beautiful people. My name is Shay, and I travel the country in a Dodge Sprinter 3500 with my king and my queen. Today, I'm going to go over how much it costs in order to convert a van into a livable space to travel the country wild and free. I'm gonna go over the numbers with my personal van build and also offer you guys some advice on cheaper, more cost-effective ways to go about van life. And I also want to go over a way to do van life in a more convenient way if you do have the funds to do so in the way that I explain it. I just want to give a word of advice. If you plan on doing any sort of video, or even if it's not a video and you want to calculate your cost, please make sure that you keep your receipts in order, in the order in which you bought them, and maybe do different categories like insulation and flooring and walls and ceiling and decorations and stuff, because all I did was take all of my receipts, throw them in a grocery bag, and then yesterday when I took them all out to categorize them and calculate all of the different costs, it took me hours, okay? Hours. And I was getting frustrated because doing math for all of these receipts is frustrating. And then I had to look up the item numbers in order to figure out what the hell a WTR 430 1.5 inches, because I don't know what that is until I look it up. I'm going to show you guys pictures as I go over the different materials that I used. Over here or maybe over here, and then I'm also going to put a link in the description below with the item number of all of the items that I got from Lowe's or Walmart or wherever it was that I got the items from, so that you guys can literally look up all of the things and see prices for everything that I used, so that you can kind of maybe take some of the materials, look them up, kind of price it out a little bit, and go from there. So I would say that my van build is probably on the more moderate price end of things. You can definitely go a lot cheaper, you can definitely go a lot more expensive. I definitely went with the middle ground when it comes to pricing. I didn't go super cheap on the materials, but I also didn't buy the most expensive ones either, and I did a lot of DIY stuff. As you can see, I didn't paint that part of my cabinet and I was trying to hide it, and clearly I haven't done a very good job of that. In order to find my personal van, I searched Craigslist for months and months and months in order to find a decent deal, because all of the vans that I was finding, they were, you know, either too expensive or had way too many miles or were off in Timbuktu. I actually found a van. It was a converted ambulance and I fell in love with it. And then the night before I left to fly out to California, San Francisco, California, to pick up this van, thankfully the lady who was going to sell me the van was a very nice lady, and she messaged me and she said, hey, I took the van to the shop and it's actually gonna need a lot more work than I thought, so I'm not gonna be able to sell you the van tomorrow. So I still had a flight to San Francisco, and I went to San Francisco and I made a vacation out of it, which was awesome. But I was really excited about that van, and that van was already converted and they were selling it for $12,000 on conversiontrader.com, I believe it is. They don't have a huge selection. I think that maybe it's a relatively new site, but nonetheless, they still have a selection on there and maybe you can find something good for you. I found my van in Orlando on Craigslist for $7,000. Actually, it was originally listed for $7,500. I got her to come down to $7,000. I drove up to Orlando with one of my friends, and then I thought that I was this big, almighty, what's the word I'm looking for? Independent woman that don't need no man. But then I realized building out a van is a lot more work and labor intensive than I thought that it was going to be. So I texted my dad and I said,
hey Pops, I'm looking to build out a van and I just bought this van and I need your help.
And he was like, all right, cool. So I went up to Virginia and he helped me build out my van. I bought the van knowing full well that it did need some things fixed. So I had to get the doors fixed, I had to get the locks fixed, I had to get quite a few other things fixed. And down in South Florida, I spent roughly $1,500, $1,400 maybe. And then when I went up to Virginia, I had to spend another $700, I believe. So I spent about $2,100 fixing the van. So with the price of the van and the fixing of the things, I'm now at $9,100. So then we move on to insulation and flooring and walls and ceiling. That is basically the shell of the van. And so I bought all of my materials for those things at Lowe's. My mother was in the military, so I get a 10% discount when I go there with her. I saved hundreds of dollars with her military discount. So that was pretty awesome. I used a few different types of insulation for the floors and the walls and the ceiling. So I'm gonna start out with the floors and explain what I used for that. I used a 1x2x8 whitewood board, and I used heavy duty liquid nails to stick the boards to the floor. I used foam board insulation, Loctite spray adhesive to adhere the foam board to the van floor. And then I screwed pine plywood sheathing over the insulation. When the project was almost completely finished, I used some vinyl flooring called Old World. And I got that from Lowe's as well. And it is 4x36-inch peel and stick. And I
peeled and stuck all right.
If I could go back, I would say that I would use some sort of adhesive on this flooring, but I'm saying that now as if I have some sort of issues. I haven't had any issues yet, but I probably should have used some sort of adhesive. I sprayed the wheel wells with the same adhesive that I used for the foam boards on the floor, and then I put the reflectix insulation on, and then I duct taped, I'm sorry, not duct tape, I foil taped around the wheel wells to keep the reflectix in place. I spray adhesived, is spray adhesived a word? Anyways, I used spray adhesive on the walls, and then I let it sit for maybe a minute or two, and then I stuck the, well, let me not forget my dad, because he was a big part in this. We stuck the fiberglass insulation to the walls, and then we duct taped the insulation to the wall so that it stuck and it didn't kind of like come out. Did the same thing with the ceiling. Put the fiberglass insulation on the ceiling, taped it to the wall after I spray adhesived, if that's a word, this ceiling. I also used Great Stuff spray foam for the nooks and crannies in the walls and in the ceiling. After I insulated the walls, I used the same plyboard sheathing that I did for the floors. I forgot to mention in the video the walls that I used. These are the walls. They were super simple. We just had to cut a few pieces and screw them to the plyboard sheathing, and that's it. And I got them at Lowe's. And then for the ceiling, I used a 1x2x8 whitewood boards, and we just stuck them to the wall with some screws. And I used some stain to stain the walls, the dark color that they are. Same stain that I used for this countertop. So my dad actually built my bed while I was in Orlando at an event, so I don't have a real price breakdown for the bed. And here's where I insert a text of me asking my dad what materials he used and how much they cost. So you can feel free to read his response and look up the materials. There you go, 50 bucks to make the bed. So for the cabinets, I bought the cabinets unfinished at Lowe's. I painted them and I bought hardware at Lowe's, and I attached the hardware to the cabinet door. I also got some magnetic pieces. Those are important because you don't want your doors flying open, especially when you have dogs, because they're gonna scare your dogs and then the stuff's gonna fly out and then it's gonna hit your dog and then it's gonna hurt your dog. And if you don't have a dog, it's still gonna fly out and probably break some things in your van. So these magnetic pieces are very important because they hold your doors shut. And then instead of opening the door super easy, I kind of have to give it a little bit of a tug. You can kind of hear it. Actually, there's something keeping this open. Oh, pre-workout. Hold on 1 second here. Let me let's try this one. So, see how it like gives a little tug and then it goes back into place? Kind of magnetize itself back into place. That's very important. Very, very important. You don't have to get the magnets, but something that will keep them shut whenever you're on the move. I can't remember exactly which brand of white paint that I used, because on my receipt when I was looking at it, I realized that the only receipt that I have, I lost the receipt for the paint. So you don't need anything fancy crazy. I just got a white semi-gloss, got some mid-grade painting brushes, and I just painted away. So the countertop was a butcher block countertop. I will put a picture here, and it was a very light wood color. It just wasn't going with my theme. It wasn't bad looking, it just didn't go with my theme, so I wanted to stain it, so I just bought some stain and I stained it. Within the countertop, we have a sink and a faucet. Now, the sink and the faucet that I bought aren't the cheapest in the world. You can find a sink for half the price. You don't even have to go as large with the sink. I just remember watching quite a few van tours and van videos in general of people showing their sinks and saying that they wish they had bought a larger sink. So I wanted to go with a decent sized sink just to avoid that problem. So I went with a decent sized sink, and then the faucet, I think I paid, well, you're gonna see the price here anyway. It wasn't super cheap, but you can get a faucet, I think, as low as $39 or so, maybe even lower on Amazon or even at Lowe's. You don't have to go super fancy with it. I just wanted something a little nicer. So that's what I did. So then we have the shower and all of its components. My shower and its components were dirt cheap, like one of the cheapest ways that you can do a shower. I bought the box, I believe, at Target for $10 or $12, and then my dad had extra PVC pipe, and that's what I made the shower. Why don't I know technical terms for anything? Anyway, the PVC pipe is up there, as you can see, and I got that for free because my dad had it in his van, so I used that, and then I just had to get some shower hooks and a shower curtain. I think those were 10 or 15 bucks, and then you got the box, and then the weed sprayer I think was maybe $20 or $30. I'll list the price here. And then I had to get a hose and its components and a little sprayer to make the weed sprayer turn into a makeshift shower, which I think were another $10 or $20. Super cheap, super easy, works, very effective. The only thing that I would say is that you don't get hot water, but you can boil water on your propane stove like I do and do a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio of hot water to lukewarm water and make yourself a nice hot shower. I got an AC unit, which is not necessary, but I got it for whenever I'm hooked up to shore power. So if I'm at somebody's house or I'm at a campsite, I can hook myself up to the AC and not have to leave my car running. And I got little things like a camera, a carbon monoxide detector, a temperature gauge. I got all of those things on Amazon for a total of maybe $30 or $40. I have to watch my dogs whenever I'm away from the van that has AC and will be watched at all times. For all of you crazy PETA people, I love my dogs and I take care of them very well. I think that you should have a carbon monoxide detector whether or not you do have dogs, just for your own safety. Temperature gauge, I guess, really isn't that important. You can determine for yourself whether or not you're hot or cold. So then I have my cooler. I paid $50 for my cooler. I didn't go the cheapest route, and I definitely didn't get nearly close to the most expensive route, because I figured if I'm gonna pay $300 or $400 for a Yeti, I'm gonna get myself a fridge before I get a Yeti. And then the rest of your costs are gonna be miscellaneous things like pillows and bedding and blankets and sheets. And then curtains like these that I got, and curtain rods and hooks and stuff like that. I will give you a very good recommendation. Ross sells everything for less. I love Ross. I get all of my pillows and my blankets and a lot of my decorations from there, because especially rugs. They always have a great deal at Ross on rugs. I go to Walmart and sure, they have some cheap rugs, but for the same price you can get a way nicer rug at Ross. Same thing with the pillows, same thing with the sheets and the blankets. Ross is the way to go. I spent roughly $200 on pillows and sheets and blankets and decorations and stuff like that. You can always go cheaper. Of course, I had to get a little fancy schmancy stuff. So that's what I ended up spending. And then I bought my propane stove, and I bought 2 cans of propane, and I bought a chair and a table for when I want to cook outside and just hang next to the van on a nice 75-degree day. I can't wait for those days. I'm so over the heat. I bought all of those things at Walmart, super cheap. So after adding all of the costs of all of the things that I named, and I left, you know, some wiggle room, about $400 to $600 worth of wiggle room, because there might have been some receipts I lost. There might have been, you know, some things that I bought that I can't even really remember that I bought. And so I came up with about $3,400. So with the van, the repairs, and the build, and all the miscellaneous things, we are roughly at $12,500. Now, it's important to keep in mind that if you aren't handy and you're not willing to YouTube and you just don't have anybody that can help you for cheap or for free, this type of build is going to be a little bit more difficult, because it's It's doable, but it's not easy. I couldn't have done this myself. My dad had some knowledge. I have some Googling capabilities and some YouTube searching capabilities, and we put our heads together and we built this van. But I will say that if I didn't have my dad, I would have either bought a van that was already built out or bought a van that was already built out. And this is the part where I would like to give a special shout out to my dad. You are freaking awesome. I'm sure you're gonna be watching this at some point, and I love you and thank you so much for your help. You are amazing. I love you forever and always. You're the best. You're the best. And I don't want to forget my mom either. My mom scrubbed the out of the front of my van, and she did amazing. I was actually gonna take the headliner in the van and just rip it out and put new headliner in because it was so filthy that I didn't even think that it was just, I didn't think that it was worth saving. And my mom did her magical cleaning wonders, and she, like, it literally looks brand new. Like, you would never even know that it looked the way that it did before. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I love you both. So with that $12,500 number in mind, don't be scared of this number because there are very, very, very many ways to go about van life in a much cheaper way. I'm gonna give you one example. I saw these vans, and I do see these vans a lot on YouTube, and pretty much just on YouTube because I just love, like, before I started doing this, I had been looking up van life for years. I started out looking at tiny home stuff, then I started looking at van life stuff, and then one day I was just like, I don't have a significant other, I don't have kids, I don't have any obligations to anything, I have a job that's on the road, and I can make money on the road as I go. I need to fucking do this because I have one life. One cheaper, more cost-effective way to go about this is getting a van such as a Ford Econoline. Now they have different types of Econolines. They have a camper style version, they have a work van version, and quite a few other versions. They have like an extended one. They have an extended top that you can actually stand in, and if you find a van that you can't stand in, you can pay to have the extension, an extension put on it. I'm not exactly sure how much. I think somewhere between $600 and $1,000, but if you get a really good deal on a van, paying an extra $600 to stand is worth it for some people. Some people it's not a big deal, but for some people the stand-up ability is very much so worth it. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you do get a Ford Econoline, you can find an older one with probably less than 200,000 miles for, I would say, between $2,500 and $5,000. Now you might be thinking, why would I pay $5,000 for a Ford Econoline that you can't even stand up in when I can pay a couple extra thousand for a Dodge Sprinter or some sort of Sprinter that you can stand up in? And I will say this, it took me a very long time to find this van. When I was looking at vans, like I said before, the cheapest one I could find was right around $12,000, and it was pushing 300,000 miles. So I was getting a little stumped for a while, and I just stumbled upon this. So keep that in mind. And also with vans like the Ford Econoline, you have less space, so that means less money to spend on insulation and floors and ceilings. But you can do a cooler for, you know, $20 to $60. So that eliminates hundreds and hundreds of dollars that you would be spending on a fridge. For a sink and cabinet setup, you can use boxes, just Tupperware boxes, and you can set a bowl on a box. You can get one of these bad boys. I got it at REI. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon, but it has this little nozzle. The reason I'm recommending this type of water container is because when you set it on the box, I'm gonna set it on this cabinet just to show you. When you set it on any sort of box, you have the nozzle here and you can just press the nozzle. You have your bowl underneath and you can wash your face, you can brush your teeth, you take the bowl, dispose of it properly, and that is your sink setup. Now for a bed, you can get a mattress for very cheap on Amazon, I would say $150 or so, and you can build a platform bed very, very cheap. Just YouTube that shit. It's like, I think I found a couple that was living van life and they made one for roughly $20. So you get your bed, you build the bed, you build the bed frame. I would build it up a little bit higher so you can put some boxes underneath for storage, and there you go. You've got your bed and your frame for under $200. Get some sheets and pillows and whatever, and then you're roughly at $200. So wham bam, thank you ma'am. You got your bed. As far as peeing is concerned, the cheaper route to go about this is not to have a toilet. You can pee in a bottle. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. You sit on a box, you scoot up some, and you aim. Especially if you're a guy, much easier. I'm a female, and I've been peeing in a bottle for a little bit of time now, and I find it actually more convenient than the toilet that I have under my bed. I don't have a composting toilet or anything like that. I have a toilet where you put a bag in it, you pee in the bag, in the toilet, then you pull the bag out and you dispose of it properly. I will say it's not convenient, and I think it cost me $20. $20, and it wasn't worth it. I pee in a bottle every time I have to pee, and I wipe, and I put it in the trash can. It's super simple. I don't put the pee in the trash can. I just wanted to mention that. I don't put the pee in the trash can. So you've got the bed situation handled, you got the sink situation handled, you got the cold food situation handled, you got the pee situation handled. Now the poop, there are plenty of bathrooms, like at your fingertips. Gas stations, stores, malls, 24-hour convenience stores, 24-hour gas stations, 24-hour Walmarts. So pooping should never be an issue. It's not like you're pooping 6 times a day. Maybe you are, but let's be realistic here. Pooping once a day shouldn't be an issue to find a toilet. Now on to the shower. Finding showers is not as difficult as it may seem, but you can buy what's called a camper shower, and you can put it on the outside of your van and just stand out there, stand in the shower, wash yourself off. If you want to shower inside of a facility, get a gym membership to Planet Fitness or Anytime Fitness. They are all over the country. And even at truck stops, you can pay to shower if you really need to. There is a way to shower inside of your van. I'll explain that in another video, but it really just involves a box, a weed sprayer, and a nozzle. That's pretty much it. And you can do really simple insulation floors and walls, or when you're starting out van life, you don't even have to do that to begin. You really don't have to. It's not a necessity. It's just an extra thing to make it insulated and make it look nice and make it look more like a home in the beginning. You don't have to spend any money on that at first. So we'll just go without the insulation and the walls and the floors. Unnecessary. You can get a little rug, make yourself at home. So in total, to do the things that I explained, I would say you'd probably be spending $500 or less. Now, if you put some insulation and some floors in the ceiling, honestly, you could do that for another less than $500. And so you're looking at about $1,000, and then you can buy the Econoline or a van similar to that for $25,000 to $5,000, so you can do it that cheap. And you can also get out a loan for the car and just pay monthly $100 or $200 a month, and that is a cheaper way to go about van life. Now, a more convenient way, time-efficient way, much more expensive way to go about van life, but is doable for very many people, is to buy a van that is already converted at an RV place and take out a home loan. Believe it or not, you can take out a home loan on an RV. One of my friends has a really dope, decked out, brand new Dodge Sprinter that looks similar to mine, but the brand new version, and has a toilet in the back, a shower, a kitchen area, bed, the works, everything that you could possibly need. I think he paid $80-some thousand for it, but with the home loan, I think he said that he pays roughly $500-something a month. Now that is an option that you could do. The only reason, and one of the biggest reasons I didn't go with that, is because, like I said, you have to take out a 15-year loan on it. So if you plan on doing van life for a while, you plan on having a van for a very long time, that would be worth it for you. So I hope everything that I explained is helpful to you. Please like this video, comment down below what you think about it, what kind of van conversion you'd like to do, what kind of van conversion you have done, what sort of videos you'd like to see from me. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. What else? Follow me on Instagram. And if you would like to get in the best shape of your life and restore your confidence forever, head to www.trainwithshay.com and let me change your life. Love you guys.